So welcome back to our Yamdu tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at how you manage your cast in Yamdu and casting and how everything works in our scene breakdowns and our breakdowns and shots area. So first of all, I'm going to go directly to the breakdowns and shots area. And here we can see that I have created a scene. So I created the scene to explain how you create characters within Yamdu. Of course, you also have the option in Yamdu to import a script and have all of the scenes added automatically to the breakdown. But let's start from scratch here and just see how things work. So first of all, here we can see we have a little bit of information about the scene, but not very much. So let's see what we can add here. So first of all, it would be nice to add some characters. So if we click here on Add Character, all we have to do is just type in the name. So in this movie I'm creating, James is the main character, so let's add him. And his love interest is Farah, so let's add her as well. So now we've created two characters here, Farah and James, and we can look at them not just here in the scene breakdown, but also in the casting area. So if we go there right now, we can see that James and Farah have been added here. And I also have the option if I want to create a character right here. So I might create the character of Fareed, who's another important character in our film. And now you can see that I can build up as many characters as I want, either in the breakdown or right here. But what sort of information do we see about the characters? Let's click into one, and since James is our leading man, let's click into him. And we can see here we have some general information. He's ID number 1, and we can scroll down and see some pieces of information that we will look at a little later. The main thing we want to look at right now is, first of all, that there are access rights for this character, and it can only be seen by the people who have the correct access rights for this, as we can see right here. We can edit this in the crew area. We can also edit this right here as we wish. But returning to the cast area again and back to James, we want to add some suggestions for actors to play this character. So if I click here on Suggest Character, I can simply add suggestions right here. So first of all, I'm going to add Jason Harper. And when I add Jason, you can see I have the option to add a lot of information about him, from his agency to a link to his showreel, images and files, and even more information right here. But I can also add this information afterwards, so I'll show you how this works a little bit later. But we will create him as a draft right now, because I want to just get my actors together and in order before I share this information. So I create as a draft. And I'm going to do the exact same for 2 more actors here. So I want to add also Jimmy Woodley. And again, I'll just scroll straight down and create as draft. And I also want to add Jack Jameson. And again, I will scroll down and create him as a draft. So now we have created 3 actor suggestions. You can see here that this draft can only be seen by my department. And I have a couple of options here. So first of all, I can work on the ratings here. If I want to assign a rating to any of these actors, I can do so to let people see, okay, I think this person is right for the role, or this person isn't as good. I can do this if I want to. If I'm happy with the actor suggestions I've uploaded, I can then share these, so I can publish the draft I have just created for each of these actors. So in this case, all I need to do is click Publish Draft for each of these actors, and now it will be information that everyone can access. So it's not just my department. Now everyone working on the production can see that, okay, there are 3 actor suggestions now. So now that I've added my actor suggestions, I can look at things I have the option to do. First of all, if I hover over the actors here, I can reject suggestions. If I think Jack Jameson or Jimmy Woodley is not right for this role, I can reject the suggestion. And when I do that, you can see that the actor is not lost, he's just acted to rejected suggestions. I can always add him later if I think he's the right man at a later point, or if certain actors drop out. So even if you have suggestions you don't want to go forward with right now, you can simply reject them and use them again at a later point. But let's take a look at one of our actors here and see the kind of information we have about them. So if I click here on Jason Harper, we can see some of the information about him. So first of all, I can edit his general information. So in this case, you can see we have his name. I can add an agency. So I have no agencies already existing. So I'll just add a test agency to show how this works. So we can now say his agency is test agency. And we can scroll down here and see that we have some sensitive information that is only visible for selected positions, very high level positions. So we can say here that his real name is Tom Wilson. And you can add his date of birth, address, and information like this too. And phone number, of course. You can also add information about his dietary needs. Let's say that he is a vegan and that he is allergic to peanuts. And this will be information that will only be shared with high-level people and the catering department, for example, for his personal safety. But his information will be very secure. So that's the general information. We can add as much as we want right there. So the next thing we can add for this actor is images and files. So let's say we want to add a headshot. We can click on Add File. And then we can choose our file right here. So here we can say this is James. And we have now a headshot. And if we scroll up, you can see he has a image that will show up for this actor. So we can also add more information here. We can go to Appearance and Skills. And here we can add a lot of information about James. So we can decide here if he is male or female. He's a male. We can decide what kind of age range he can play as an actor. We can add languages and talents, vocal range and instruments. And the information we add here we can search for later in our database. So this information can be reused again and again. So we can add, for example, his ethnicity. He is Caucasian. And just fill up this with any information that might be relevant or useful as we go through this. So once we do all of this, we can click Done, and we have some information about his appearance and skills. We can also, and this is very useful for the costume department, edit sizes. So you can see here when we scroll down, we have a huge variety of options for different measurements. So that the costume department can really create the perfect costume for this character, and it really makes things very simple. So you just add whatever you need there as well, and it creates all of the sizes for this character and for this actor. We can also add notes here. So if we need to add a note about anything, any information about this actor that might be relevant, we can add it right there. We can add a contract if we need to. So we can look here and there's some information we can add. We can add a deal memo, for example, and specify that, okay, this actor needs $10,000 per week. Maybe they need a caravan, for example, on set with fresh towels. Any kind of information like this that we want to add, we can add in a note here as part of the contract. As always, the lock icon shows you who has access to this contract area. And if we have contractual documents, we can also add these. So if I click on Add File, if I have a contract for Jason, I can click Choose, and this contract will be updated and uploaded here. So you can have it right here in the actor's page. So scrolling down, we can add more information. We can add links. So if he has a show reel, we could add a link to that, video link. We can add off periods if he's not available at certain times. We can create tasks related to this actor if necessary. And we can also create comments here. So we can let people know that the actor is here. We can discuss this actor right here on his page. So if we return to the cast again, and we return to James, we can fill in some more information about the different actor suggestions we had. So if we go to Jack Jameson, we can add an image for him too. So let's just do that very quickly. Let's say This is Jack Jameson right here. And now we have an image for him too. If we go back to the character of James again, and we can also add an image for Jimmy Woodley too, just in case we need to resuggest him a little later. So we add file, and here we have Jimmy Woodley. So now if we return to our cast, and James again, we can decide here if we want to fix someone as cast. So we have our two actor suggestions here, and if I want to, I can say that Jason is the best choice and fix him as cast. And when I do this, he will now be linked to the character of James from this point on. So it's a great way to ensure that whenever the character of James appears, it will automatically be linked to Jason Harper throughout Yamdu. And as I've done this, as I've fixed Jason as cast, in the background messages are being sent to the relevant departments, letting them know that Jason has been cast as James. This will show up on everyone's feed, and very quickly people will understand, okay, we have an actor for this role. Of course, we might have fixed an actor as cast and then find out that he's not quite right or that he's not fully available. So let's say, for instance, that Jason no longer works. We can very simply just unfix this suggestion again. And when we do this now, we can look through our suggestions. If we want to suggest Jimmy again, for example, all we need to do is click on suggest again, and he's back in the running too. And if Jason is completely out of the running, we could reject the suggestion again or remove the suggestion completely. But in this instance, let's say that Jack Jameson has now been cast. So when I do this, now the linking has changed. Whenever the character of James appears, he will automatically be linked to the actor Jack Jameson. And again, messages will be sent out. All the other departments will get immediate messages that, okay, Jack Jameson has now been cast as James. There has been a change. So if we return to cast here, we can see that we have a couple of different options. We have the characters and we also have the actors. And you can see here we have the 3 actors we've added for the character of James. But we can also create actors right here as well. So for example, I want to add a few more. Let's say I have Alan DeGloria in mind for the character of Fareed. I can again scroll down and just create him as a draft very quickly. Again, I can add another actor. Let's say Sarah McLean is someone we're considering for the character of Farah. I can add her very quickly and create as draft again, and I can always fill out her information afterwards. And maybe there's someone else we're also considering for Fareed. Let's say this is Ben Ishak. I can just add him as well, and again create as draft. So again, we're creating the actors here. We can create characters. We can do this in many different areas, so it makes it very easy to add information as you go. So as we can see here, only my department can see these drafts. I've created these actors, and this is sensitive information. Maybe Sarah McLean is a huge actress, and I don't want to jump in straight away and say that she's almost ready to be cast, but she's someone we're considering. So I keep this within the department for a while, as long as I need to. I can also, if I want, import actors from other projects. And you see here, there are many to choose from if I want to. But again, today I just wanted to show you how everything works from scratch. So if we go back to Jason Harper, for example, and I added some information about him when I was showcasing exactly what you can add in relation to information about actors, we can see here that he has an agency, Test Agency. And when we click on Test Agency, we can see here that we have information about this agency. We can add images and files and contact persons. And we can see here that the actor with this test agency is Jason Harper. But if we want to create more actors, we can do it right here inside the agency itself. So this gives us another option to create actors in different locations throughout Yamdu. So in this case, I'll just create very quickly an actor called Test test, just to show that how this works exactly. I can create him as a draft or just create him for everyone to see. And then when I return back to my cast here, test has now been added here, and slightly differently to everybody else that I added a few minutes ago, we can see that he is fully visible because I didn't just create this as a draft. But all of these actors, once they're created, they're in the Yamdu database, and then they can be reused again and again. So I hope that has been useful to show you how you manage your cast in Yamdu. Thank you for watching. All the best.